Welcome to the latest episode of Branding the Experience, where we discuss ways how we can create environments where employees actually want to come to work and customers want to keep coming back. Hi, I'm Ken Bader, your host for Branding the Experience, and I got a treat this morning because I have an awesome guest from all the way on the other side of the world. It's about 8 a.m. where I am right now, and it's about 11 p.m. where he is, and he's staying up for us. I appreciate it. His name is Dr. Sundardas Annamalay. He is an award-winning entrepreneur, best-selling author, strategic business mentor, professor of natural medicine, and natural medicine practitioner. Dr. Sundardas created the $1 Million Design Life Formula after working with more than 15,000 individuals from more than 30 countries. I can go on. He's got an impressive resume here, but I want you to hear from the doc. Doc, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ken. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. And again, thanks for staying up with us, man. You get to our age, and about 9:30, you're ready to go to sleep. You're ready to go here.
Tell me about it.
So we're gonna talk about brand by design because you're an expert at that. But how did you built systems and so forth? How did you get to this brand by design idea or system, Doc?
And that's a great question. So I'm going to start off with how 30 years ago, if you talk to me about branding and marketing, those were bad words.
Don't worry about it. I still have clients that think that both of them are bad words. Trust me. I had that conversation 2 days ago, but go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm going to say that I was a regular science nerd and a geek. You know what that means? It means that we have all this knowledge and all this experience and wisdom that we're going to share.
Exactly.
and my right to be of service is because I'm so learned and I know all this stuff, right? Cool. Famous last words.
Yeah.
Those are really, really famous last words because in the Asian context, I'm going to say this, right? So in the Asian context, branding and marketing was not scientific.
Mm-hmm.
It's hit and miss. And it's improved over the last 30 years, but relative to where you are in the US, it's hit and miss. Yeah. So it was a bad word, okay? And I'm going to talk about two incidents that happened, one or two incidents that happened that stuck in my head, and I didn't understand what they meant. And it took like 5 to 10 years later before I started getting it. So just after I started my practice, I had one of my uncles who came in to see me. And he had a trigger finger. You know what a trigger finger is, right? So
yes.
you're normally going to need surgery for that.
Yeah.
And I treated him with acupuncture, and after 2 sessions, he was in 2 or 3 sessions. That was it. No surgery, nothing. And I thought that was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't think it was so. He was happy about his finger, but he was trying to get me to become part of his family and date his daughter. And my father and him were always in this very, good friends, good enemy kind of stuff. And he called up my father and said, "What is your son doing with 2, master's degrees and selling?" I'm going to say this in English, and then I'll say it in a way that will make sense to me. Selling peanuts, which is health food. Yeah. What is it with 2 master's degrees selling health food? Because he didn't get it. Then 6 months later, I was featured in the national press for the work I did. And suddenly he called up my father and said, "Oh, your son has arrived." So the 2 comments stuck in my head, and I didn't make sense out of it. Okay, I didn't know what it meant, and I couldn't appreciate his responses. But they were sufficiently divergent enough from the same person, and I know that the person who said the first thing was as sincere as the person who said the second thing, right? So that started something going. So here I am going in and I'm talking to people and, drumming up business for my practice. then I am with Jay Abraham, right? He comes to Singapore. I'm his personal physician on stage. And I'm going to tell you that this was about 22 years ago. The bulk of what he said just went right by. But he said something and it stuck. And he said, if you have something that is of service to the world and you are making a difference, then it's your ethical responsibility that you go out and let people know about what you do. Otherwise, they're doing everybody else a disservice.
Yeah. I love that. I love that line. You know, I work here in the States. I work with a lot of financial institutions, mostly credit unions, and those are not-for-profit organizations. And you know, fortunately we've come a long way in the last 30 years, where there are CEOs and other executives of these institutions that get it, that they need to brand, that they need to market, they need to sell. And then once they get them in, they do all this great work, so it's legitimate. But there are some, despite the great stuff that they do, like, oh well, I don't want to sell, you know, I don't want to brand. It's like, well, you know what? If you truly have something that's going to be of value to another human being, to not tell them about it is a disservice. And the other,
exactly,
and you know what you kind of learned is, it seems like, when that individual was saying, "Oh, you're just selling nuts," even though you were offering a very valuable service and helped them. And then 2 weeks later, you got this great brand news. You got this news which was branding on your service, on your way of doing things. You know, you learn the difference basically between branding and marketing. You always had a brand. And now you were being marketed.
And so it's like when he said that, like, you know, you have a duty to get out there. It's like my brain went, okay, I got to do something about it. Okay. And along the way, I began to realize that selling is hard work. Marketing is not. Right? And I'm a lousy salesman, relatively speaking. I'm a far better marketing person. And then I realized that I needed to play to my strengths. Okay? I needed to play to my strengths. So that's where the idea of what I later all called brand by design started coming up. So part of it was about profiling people, right? And there's a whole new story about how I profile people, and I created models in my head, and then eventually got trained in half a dozen systems and so on and so forth. But the thing about it is, you can profile people for interaction, you can profile people for personalities, you can profile people for how they are in business. Okay. And the trick is that every business, and if you are the entrepreneur, the CEO, and I think that even if you are the head of a department in an organization, you need to brand yourself. I currently have significant C-level executives who realized that they needed to brand themselves, and then they started moving. And and the moment they started branding themselves, within weeks they suddenly became hot, and people will tell them, you know, if you ever leave, I'm going to give you a job. They were really like, wow. Okay. And this whole thing about it is, the Asian model of branding and marketing was, as I said, somewhat specious. It wasn't ethical, right? And I always used to look at Americans and be impressed by how they branded. At the same time, it was like, so much. And then along one of my trips, I started speaking to one of them. And then that individual said something that stuck in my head. And he said, there's so many of us, we have to stand up. Okay. So it's not bragging, it's not showing off, it's survival. Okay.
Yeah, it really is. And I actually am better at marketing than selling too, Doc. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
I can see that.
well, and I think, well, first it comes from the idea of understanding that branding, marketing, and selling are not synonyms.
Yeah.
They're three different activities. Now, you could be
Yes.
doing all three, but there
Yeah.
are times where you're branding and you're not really marketing or selling. All you're doing is you're
Yeah.
building your unique story. When you're marketing, you're
Yeah.
telling that unique story and how it
Yes.
connects with somebody
Absolutely.
else. When you're selling, you're actually trying to push a product or
Yeah.
service on somebody.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where I think some people think of marketing and branding as negative. And even
Yeah.
selling, I mean, you need sales in your business, but you need
Yes.
you need to be able to present what you do, what you offer in a way that's solving a problem to the other person. When you're doing that, you're not selling, you're branding and marketing,
Yeah.
but you're not
Yeah.
selling, you're offering.
Yeah. The offering, and that's it. Right now, I don't see myself as selling. I
Yeah.
see myself as helping people buy.
Yeah.
Right, and
Exactly.
that goes back to the whole thing about branding and marketing. So, along the way, I'm going to talk a little about
Please.
my first business because that will provide a perspective. So, I'm running a natural medicine business, which is famous for being high touch
Mm-hmm.
and low tech. Okay, high
Yeah.
touch and low tech. Now, my first degree was in physics, so I'm high tech,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And in the early days, I was not very well known for being warm and fuzzy.
Well, you are now. I'm glad you are because I'm having a great time here early in the morning, late at night for you.
Yeah, yeah. So in my earlier days, I was very cool, analytical, and really focused on problem solving. So here I am in an industry that is very well known for being high touch and low tech.
Mhm.
And if I did that, I would be running counter to my brand.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did something that when I first did it was nobody in Asia did it, nobody in Singapore did it, and now 20, 15, 20 years later, everybody is following what I'm doing. I
Mm.
went high tech, moderate touch. So we had all this instrumentation. Although we were doing natural medicine, it wasn't any of this. You come in, let me touch you, and make you feel better. It was
Yeah.
like the beginnings of functional medicine. We're going to check it out. We'll know exactly what's going on with you, and then we'll tell you what's the best thing that you can do.
Yeah.
So that was the first step: high tech, moderate touch, and then the conversations I had with people and it was all about how can I help you get better, and I'm really clear about what I can help you and what I cannot help you with,
Mhm.
which was a very different conversation from the others. They were very optimistic and hopeful,
Mhm.
but not specific, right?
Mhm.
So in already I'm beginning to see that I'm doing something different,
Yeah.
and then I began to see that after a while it and what I'm telling you, of course, didn't happen overnight. It took a few years,
No,
right?
no. We want to tell everybody that it happened overnight to think that, this is gonna be
I mean, now I can work with somebody and get them to do this in 8 weeks.
right.
But I'm talking about a journey and initial parts of it took 5 to 7 years.
Hmm.
But now we can walk with somebody and say, you know what, we get you to this in 8 weeks to 12 weeks
Yeah.
because we got the formula down. So that was the first part.
Yeah.
The next part about it was the just as I'm a certain personality,
Hmm.
my company has to be branded around my personality. So
Exactly.
it will be no use me being this cool, high tech, moderate touch person having this whole fuzzy wuzzy stuff out there. It will look
Hmm.
really contradictory, right? So it has to be consistent. And once that is the case, I will attract clients who want that.
Yeah.
I don't have to bother about the ones who want all the fuzzy wuzzy stuff.
Yeah.
And the clearer I got about that, the easier the marketing became. I didn't have to sell. In the early days, I had to sell, right? And it was very frustrating experience. And yeah. And then as this whole thing evolved, one of the mistakes I made was not recognizing that really it wasn't the name of the organization, but I was it.
Yep.
And so I tried to hide behind the name, you know. We've got this name, we've got all these pieces out there. And people will come and they keep looking for me. I didn't understand. It's like, look, I've got half a dozen other practitioners. But no, they'll come looking for me.
Yeah.
And fast forward, there were times when there was a time when I tried to kind of hide, and then the thing would,
yeah.
And then one day somebody said, you know what? I'm coming here for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had this really super wealthy individual, right? Like 4-generational family of wealth and all of that. And one day he told me after like many years, said, you know, all those times I came to see you, I didn't really want to see you as a doctor. I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
But there's no way you would talk to me. Because I thought, look, what do I have to say to this super business person, right? The guy like has got, I don't know how many thousand people under him. He's got all these experts under him. What do I have to say? But there are things I said that got to him.
Yeah. So many great points there. I'm starting to hear my seminar here because one, yeah, the whole premise of the show is branding the experience, and whether you knew that you were doing this or not, that's exactly what you did. You know, you said, all right, I'm going to create an experience. Yeah, and it wasn't even, okay, I'm going to create this experience because this is what people need. I'm going to create this experience because this is my expertise. I'm not going to be something that I'm not. I'm not going to be this high touch, low tech guy or business. And I think that's where a lot of businesses get into trouble, where they create an experience that they can't live up to. You know, where they say, all right,
and you're not congruent with.
Exactly. You say, you know
you're
what?
Not congruent with.
Yeah, you know, restaurants are a good example where they say, the trend is to have this family experience, like Rainforest Cafe with fake gorillas and monkeys, hanging from the wall. Let's get some stuffed animals and staple them to the wall and make this kind of a jungle experience. We'll call it, Jungle Gym Restaurant. We'll create this family thing, and it's not them. You know, they were good at running a bar and and having a neighborhood place.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't match. And then even when you do the marketing for it, even when you do the best marketing for it and you drive people to that experience, people get it. This isn't the experience that I expected. This is crap. This isn't, you got a monkey stapled up to the wall. That's not what I wanted. But you understand.
And the marketing becomes really expensive.
Yeah.
Because the more people you drive in, the more you push them away.
Yeah, you can't get people that want to return. It's all about getting people to want to come back. You created an experience where people wanted to come back. You were giving them something that was different, that they wanted, that they probably didn't even know they wanted, and was probably better than anything else that they could get out into the market.
Yeah. And also being careful about who I was and who were the best people we could attract. So we actually drilled down into the profiles, right? And we actually got the profiles down after we were already about 14 years in business. We really got it drilled down. And then I'm going to talk about for 3 years where I tried to be smart and do line extension. And trying to be
you became a genius on yourself. Yeah.
And that was the fatal mistake, right? And so it's like, okay, this isn't going to work, right? Because the other thing is you can't be known for too many things.
Yeah.
They can only at the most see you as capable of between 3 to 5 things, maybe 7 at the most. Anything more than that, it doesn't go in.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then we say, okay, this is what I'm known for. This is what I'm good at. All the other things that I'm good at, I'm going to put it back in.
Yeah.
So they come in to the front end, they get a piece of the pie, and they go, right, do you want coffee with it?
Yeah. Yeah. You do the
Yeah.
McDonald's thing, you want a
Yeah.
biggie?
Yeah. Yeah. And the bottom line here was the front offerings have to be relatively consistent with the whole brand idea and with
Yeah.
the personality, and you have to deliver it in such a way that it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Cannot
Yeah.
struggle with it.
Yeah.
Okay, that means, so systems, we got it all dialed down, we worked out the conversations, and then I realized my personality is like this cool person. When I get to know you more, we get more engaged.
Yeah.
But there are people that I'm not going to be good at, and that's cool.
Yeah.
They're going to go to other people, and there'll be others who are going to come in, read my stuff and all of that, and go, that's the person I want to work with.
Yeah. Not everybody
So
is your
why make
customer.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so then I formalized it. I came up with a profiling system, and we were actually doing training programs and all of that. And so what we can do is, for example, one of my clients is huge, significant engineering company in Malaysia. They were doing precision engineering. And when we started doing work with him, the first thing we did was to reduce his stress levels so that people didn't leave him. Things were a bit more sustainable, and it was really interesting, right? This is
Yeah.
a 7-8 figure kind of company, and I asked him to tell me his projections for the end of the year, and he couldn't tell me.
Yeah.
In other words, he had been around for 10 to 12 years, and suddenly, somehow, at the end of the year, they will make money. But he never knew how he did it.
Lucky for him.
Yeah, and that was part of his good track record and all of that. But listening to it, I felt like really, really scared. It's like, how do you live like that?
Yeah.
Right? So we put systems in place. But one of the core issues was he had spent time in Germany and all of that. So he got confused about his brand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he got confused about his branding, where he was in the market and where he wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
So he saw that the Germans, there was the Rolls Royce, there was the Mercedes Benz.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a luxury type service. Reality was that he was providing an essential service that if a factory didn't have that, it would soon fail, and not make money. So he was doing what we call a Volvo type. It was
Right.
a Volvo car. He wasn't a Mercedes Benz.
Mm-hmm.
And if he actually had attempted to market himself as Mercedes Benz, he would have alienated his ongoing clients and he would have frightened off the new ones.
Yeah.
So we had to have this ongoing conversation with him to help him see that actually this is what he was. He was providing safety, security, ensuring that every company that he came up with stuff for, they would start making money in a safe, reproducible way. They would make money, but it's like he's doing the basic bread and butter things that became so organized and systemized that it would eventually make millions.
Yeah.
But he had positioned himself as a luxury item, he wouldn't even have gotten in through the front door. He did charge premium prices. Okay, he charged premium prices because in this industry he did things that nobody else did.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, after we worked with him, the first thing that happened was he started having enough time for himself instead of running around. And then last year they won 3 entrepreneurship awards. He got German company wanted to partner him in Malaysia, and now he's like really high up, and we are positioning him for a pre-IPO.
Nice.
But the whole thing started off with him getting clear about his personal brand.
Yeah.
that he was a Volvo and not a Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with being a Volvo.
Yeah, and there isn't.
You got to know you're a
but
Volvo.
Yeah. And so you have to, it's like, here I was when I was, I was evolving in my practice, and there was just one point when, like 20 years ago, when I was with my business partner and we were strategizing, and I had a few skill sets, right? And I got confused and identified with the skill sets. It took me a while to understand that my core competence was actually problem solving. It wasn't the skill sets.
Yeah.
Right? And so once I became clear that, okay, I'm a problem solver, and my capacity is to solve problems in an innovative fashion, and when somebody came in, I'm solving their problem.
Yeah.
Our marketing changed.
Right.
Our whole branding and positioning went whoop. I stopped talking about all my degrees. I stopped talking about all the things I did. I just said, we focus on helping you with gut problems and pain problems, and people could buy that. You didn't need to need all the other labels, right?
Right.
And I'm going to go back to the whole thing we talked about branding again.
Please.
Because and how I made the connections, right? So here I am, a technical expert, and every time I want to study or learn something, I will go and read all the fine print and all of that, because this is my area of expertise. But what happened if I wanted something I knew nothing about? What happened if I wanted to buy an equipment, or I wanted to learn about marketing or branding? What did I do?
You probably bought like 18 books.
And then look at the common authors,
and
the ones that everybody speaks about, and I went, so that's branding.
Right.
That's branding. So branding is when you know nothing about anything and you want a third party's opinion about who's any good. Right? So you got to bring your message down, so that somebody you know nothing about your expertise is going to buy from you, because you're not selling to yourself.
Yeah. Awesome tip. Right. So since you are a problem solver, I know you are, because I've had a great time talking to you at the New Media Summit. What is the number one problem that you see with the people that you work with in branding?
That they don't recognize that they need it.
Yeah.
That's the first step. And they don't see branding. They see branding as something external.
Yeah.
Right? It's colors and scenery and what have you. They don't see it as every time you actually interact with someone, you're actually a brand.
Yeah.
And you either get it, you get the other person's brand, or you don't. And when you get it, you want to do something more.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And so the more coherent and consistent you are about what you're all about, the easier it is for somebody interacting with you to get it. And it's easier for you to decide who you engage with or don't engage with. So it saves time.
Yeah. It's so on point, Doc. That people don't get it, and they don't understand. And I run into this all the time. They say something like, well, I don't have time for branding. I don't have the money or resources for branding. And then you have to explain, you're branding right now. You're constantly branding.
You either do it, you're doing it well, or you're doing it badly.
Yeah. You're either
doing it well.
Yep, you're either doing it actively or passively. And if you do it passively, you may not like what you end up with.
You'll be wasting time, effort, and energy. And so it's like, somebody says you don't sell. If you're in a relationship, you sold yourself.
Yep. Exactly.
And you also have a brand that somebody bought into.
Yep.
Right? So if you got customers, you're working with people, you're employed, or you're a CEO, you're branded yourself. It's whether you're doing it in a conscious, precise, targeted fashion, or is it purely coincidental and accidental, and that's really dangerous. Because then you're sending off all kinds of vibes and other unintended consequences that you have to deal with later on.
Yep. No, you're spot on, Doc. Doc, I want you to get some sleep tonight, and I know it's getting late over there. But one last question for all those folks around the world that may be watching this, that obviously are watching this, otherwise I wouldn't be hearing my voice. For all those folks that really need to tap into your brilliance, how best can they find you?
They can do it at www.drsundardas.com.
Okay.
And I think I also sent you a link to the Cliff Notes version of Life by Design, which will help give them an overview of how to, at least look at their lives, get it organized, get it efficient, and get it more fun.
Yep, and we will definitely put both your free gift, and we appreciate it, as well as the link for your website. Doc, thanks so much for spending some time with us today, especially as late as it is over there.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Ken. It's been great.
Pleasure's been all mine. I had so much fun talking with you, and had so much fun speaking with all of you in the audience. So thank you for being with us. And as always, here's hoping that you're branding the experience at a very high level for all those you serve. Take care. Thank you for watching Branding the Experience. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're looking for a speaker on branding the experience, on workplace culture, or on business strategy, I have a number of different options for you. And my approach is always to entertain first, engage second, and educate third. It's a formula that leaves my audience not only laughing and enjoying, but also learning. So if you want a great speaker on branding, culture building, or strategy, I'd like to hear from you. Simply send me an email at kbator, B-A-T-O-R, at btcinc.net, or to learn more about the presentations that I've done that have been successful in the past, go to www.btcinc.net.